Okay, so in this video, we'll talk about Secret Manager. So Secret Manager is a secure and a convenient storage system for storing things like your API keys, your passwords, your certificates, and other sensitive data. So in this particular chapter, what we'll do is we'll create a virtual machine instance, and within that virtual machine instance, we'll install MySQL and we'll install Node. And this particular Node application will try to connect to your MySQL. However, the credentials for this particular MySQL will be stored in a Secret Manager. So let's see how we can implement a system like this. Okay, so I'm back in my console. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to access our secret manager. Now you can just type secret manager here, or you can go to your hamburger menu and you will find your secret manager inside your security. So you can just open your security and within that you'll find your secret manager. So let's open this and let's create our first secret. So let's click on create secret here. And here we need to provide a name. So let's just call this as SQL cred. And here you can either upload your file or you can insert your secret here. So what I have done is I've already created an instance which has an SQL in it, and I've also created a credential for that. So let's copy that. So the credential that I've created is basically user and password, and let's paste it over here. And you have to make sure that this is a valid JSON. So that's very important, else it will not work in your code. So let's click on create. And what it does is it creates a version. And what we need here is basically this particular information. So if you click on this copy resource ID, this particular copy resource ID, you need to paste it in your code. So if you go to your overview, this is basically the resource ID. So this is basically the value that we need in our node application for this to work. So let's go to our instance now and let's configure everything so that we are able to connect to the database using this particular secret manager. So let's go to our instance. Okay, so I've created my instance, so let's SSH into it. Okay, so once you log in, the first thing you need to do is you need to install MySQL. Now, to make this particular video concise, I've already installed MySQL. Now, the link on how you can install MySQL, I'll give in the description below, so you can just check that out. So once you've installed MySQL, let's try to access it. So let's do a sudo, and let's try to access our MySQL. So the user is root, and the password is password. So this is the same password that we've stored in our secret manager. So let's try that, I think. And what we need to do is we need to create a database, and within that database, we need to store some data. So I've already done that. So I have created a database called testdb. And within this, I've created a table called person. So let's do a select star from persons. And you can see that it has this particular value. Okay, so once you've done that, the next thing that you need to do is you need to create a node application to access this data. So let's do that. So let's exit out of this and let's create a node application. Okay, so here I have created a very simple Node Express application, and within this Express application, I'm using the MySQL library as well as the Google Cloud Secret Manager. So I'll create an instance of this particular library. And here the only change that you need to give is basically the resource ID. So this is the resource ID of your secret. So once again, I'll go back to my secret. I will just copy this secret resource ID and I will just paste it here. And this corresponds to the resource ID. Now, apart from that, I'll just call this particular access secret version and I'll get the response payload. And that response payload here contains the user and the password. And then I'll create a MySQL connection and I will get this particular value, that is select star from testdb.persons, and that's the only thing that happens. Now this particular piece of code, I have created a GitHub repository, and that repository I'll give in the description below, so you can just check that out. So the only change that you would need to make is this particular version ID would be different for your particular secret. So the only change that you need to make is this, and everything else remains the same. So let's exit out of this and let's run this application. So let's do a node index.js. So here the first thing that you will encounter is basically this permission denied error. Now the reason for this is that you have to give permission for this particular virtual machine to access that secret. So let's see how we can do that. So let's go back to our instance. So if I go to this instance, you can see that this particular instance is currently using the default service account. So what I need to do is I need to give the default service account access to that particular secret. So let's do that. So let me just copy this secret, so this service account, and let's go to our secret manager, and let's open our secret. And here you have to go to your permissions tab, and let's click on add here. And this particular service principal, what you need to do is you need to assign the secret manager. So for this example, I just assign this secret manager secret accessor role. And let's click on save. And let's run this application again. So let me exit out of this. Let me just kill the process. So that's because our web server is still running. So I need to kill that particular process. And let's run our application again. So let's do a node index.js. And you can see that I've also printed the user and the password. Now, never do this in production. So this is just for a demo that I'm doing this. So let's go and let's try to access this instance. So let's go back to our instance and let's get the IP address. And let's copy this and let's run this. So this is running on port 3000. And you can see that I get the output. So this is basically the select star from person. So the response I'm getting on my browser. So this is how you run your Node application using Secret Manager. Now, if you want this for any other programming languages, please do get in touch with me and I'll create a tutorial for those languages. So that's it for this lecture. I will see you in the next.